Hello, my beautiful people. I'm Vicki Stark, the author of Runaway Husbands. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight and have the opportunity of answering a few questions. So let's get started. So the first question is from a couple of weeks ago. Susie left me this question. And she says, I feel my ex has been my family for 30 years. How do you just flip a switch and not think of them as family anymore? Who throws away family and erases them? I have no family in my state. How does one just say, you're no longer my family? It's very odd to me. It's been 15 months and I can't seem to forget that he's my family. Do I just pretend that he died? So, Susie, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this question. And it's incomprehensible how somebody could stop thinking of you as family. And just his feelings have changed, and now you're something else, some other category. 30 years is a long time. And of course, in a year and a half or 15 months, you're not going to get that out of your psyche. You know, the fact that he is and was part of your family. For him, he could turn the switch, and if there's another woman on the scene, he can reattach to somebody else. And it's almost impossible for you to understand how anyone could do that, because you couldn't do that, but he could. And a lot of the runaway husbands can and do, or the majority can and do. But I think for you, you have to recognize that the reason that you can't just, forget about him being part of your family was that you had a true and real connection to him. And that's a good thing. And so it will take some time for you to stop having that sort of automatic thought that he's part of your inner world, that he's part of your family. But little by little, as time goes on, as you get more distance from him, you will be able to start to morph out of that way of thinking about him. And that will be a good thing for you to sort of release your grip on him being part of your family and let that drift into the back history of your life. He was your family, but now he's not. Okay, so our next question is from LV, and she says, my runaway husband is the one who traumatically left and devalued the relationship, and he's done nothing to reconcile. I can only conclude that he clearly does not want to be married to me anymore. It's been over a year and a half, and I want to know, why does he go silent every time I try communicating to him about us now cooperatively taking steps to legally divorce? He doesn't even respond. Why could he be dragging this on? He initially said he would be the one to file. So why won't he just divorce me? And then she says, to add a little more context, he's been recently responsive to other requests. He even offered to help me clean and organize my basement. And he said I could let him know if I needed help with anything. But it's only when I broached the topic of proceeding with the divorce again that he stopped responding altogether and seems to be ignoring my messages. Why the hot and cold? All right, so LV, we have no idea, but there is a reason. And you don't know what that reason is. Maybe he's afraid that if he has to face the legal proceedings, that he'll lose a lot of money, and that the devil that you don't know is pretty scary, and the difficulties that are more tolerable. So I don't know how the two of you are managing your finances, but maybe however it is feels tolerable for him, and he's terribly afraid that if he had to go to court and have a legal separation or divorce, that it would be very much not in his favor. And that's probably the reason. but the truth is that you don't really know. And this brings us to an issue that is so prime in the Runaway Husbands recovery process, which is that you're not going to get closure. And there are things that you're not going to know, that he's not going to want to share with you. And so you have to be able to say, I don't really know, but I have to figure out how I move ahead, whether he is going to participate actively, or am I going to serve him with the papers, or maybe I'm going to have to be the active party, even though he offered in the beginning. But so you have to think of yourself, and don't waste too much time or energy trying to understand his motivation, because chances are you won't be able to do it. And that's true, for a lot of people in a lot of other contexts in the wife abandonment syndrome experience, that often you're wondering, like, why is he doing this? And you just don't know. So accept the fact you're not going to have closure, and you're not going to have a good answer, and then take your life in your own hands and move on. And finally, we heard from Michelle, who says, while I want to be cordial to my runaway husband, I struggle with the right level of friendliness. Too friendly equals I don't want to give the impression that I'm approving of his behavior. Too mean equals it only adds more stress to the situation and is not a healthy attitude for me. I think I'm shooting for aloof with a sarcastic smile. Do you have any advice or general rules to help? It's a fun question. And it also speaks to something that's maybe a bit unusual, which is that it sounds as though you're not too terribly bent out of shape about him, because you have the potential of being too friendly. And also that you're saying you want to be cordial to him. I don't know if you have children in common, which means that you have to continue to communicate with him or see him, for various reasons. But the fact that you want to have a cordial relationship with him is very interesting, maybe a bit unusual. But the other thing you're saying is that you want to have a healthy attitude about the whole thing. And so for you, that aloof, may be okay. Casual. Think of him. Sometimes it helps if you think of him in some context other than your ex-husband. Like, for example, if he were your cousin's husband, you might be friendly to him, but you wouldn't be too friendly. If he were the neighbor who lived down the block, and he was married or something, you might be friendly or cordial, but you don't want to be overly warm. So sometimes it helps if you kind of imagine some other context to put him into, slot him into that role of your cousin's husband. And then you can think to yourself, well, how would I act with my cousin's husband? I'd be nice, I'd be friendly, but I maybe wouldn't be overly effusive. And that might help you figure it out. But I think that the idea of maintaining a healthy attitude and a civil relationship with him, particularly if there are children in the mix, is a healthy, is a very positive thing for you. So that's us for tonight. Lovely to see you, and I will be back here again next week. Take care.